Because again, it's all just ones and zeros in computers. All they have to do is push a button and off it goes to its intended recipient. The hard stuff, the cash, they have that printed up and they actually maintain reserve supplies. When they're ready to inject it into the economy, they just release it to the banks and it gets shipped. So if you see a lot of armored cars running around all over the country, you'll know what they've got. They're headed to the regional branches of the Federal Reserve banks to make sure that we maintain liquidity, which is just a fancy way of saying they're going to pump more money into the economy to devalue the greenbacks you've already got in your wallet. As the crisis worsens, the government's reaction keeps changing. Lawmakers in both parties are starting to gripe that the bailout is turning out to be far different from what the Bush administration sold to Congress. But what the Bush administration sold to Congress was Paulson's 3-page proposal. It was Congress that turned it into a 450-page pork-laden, police state provision-laden boondoggle. And so, what they're doing is they're passing the buck. It's the administration's fault. Oh, no. It's Congress's fault. And of course they just kind of stand back and do nothing. And there's a lot here that they talk about this too. Senator Richard Shelby, top Republican on the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee, he says that the Treasury has, quote unquote, deviated significantly from its original course. No kidding. The centerpiece of the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act is the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or TARP for short. You may hear a lot of that in the future. Oh, don't worry, we'll just TARP it. They're not talking about canvas. Canvas would be a lot cheaper. The money was to be devoted to buying toxic mortgage-backed securities whose value has fallen in lockstep with home prices. However, critics note that TARPs are used to cover things up. But once the European government said they were going into the banking business, Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson followed suit and diverted $250 billion to buy stock in healthy banks to spur lending. The article goes on here. Other planned uses of the bailout money have lawmakers protesting, although it is only fair to note there is nothing in the law that they just wrote to prevent those uses. Now what's interesting is that the banker bailout bill really didn't get read by the congressmen. We hear about this a lot. The Patriot Act is the same way. In fact, some have said that the bailout bill is the Patriot Act of finance. Congress really didn't read it before they voted on it. And again, it provides many sweeping powers that really should not be given to an official. We've gained further and further and further and further from the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution for these United States. But it just keeps going. And what I find particularly disturbing is the last statement here. Sheila Bair, who heads the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, responded that her agency is working, quote unquote, closely and creatively. And we all know how creative lawyers can be. I get scared when bureaucrats get creative because then they do things that the original legislation doesn't even authorize, like the IRS, or like the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, when they will fabricate evidence against somebody that they want to prosecute for a so-called gun violation by taking a perfectly fine, fully functioning semi-automatic weapon and turn it into a fully automatic machine gun just so they can prosecute them. Which is why Gun Owners of America has been pushing to get the ATF to be independently videotaped when they do their tests. Of course, they're balking against that. That might reveal law enforcement techniques that the public isn't supposed to be privy to. In other words, they don't want to get caught rigging the test. But test rigging, cover-ups, bailouts, now I suppose we're all supposed to just accept this as a matter of course. But I do have some good news. Gas prices are going down. The crazy economy, the futures market, has had the rug pulled out from under it. People kept wondering why gas prices were zooming up. $3, $3.50, $4, $4.25, and in some places in the country, nearly $5 a gallon. And now suddenly we're only paying a couple dollars a gallon. Well, what happened? The futures market got knocked out, had its feet taken out from under it, and the end result was the inflation at the pump was just simply the speculation having to be removed from the equation. That's what was driving the prices up. And there was a gentleman that belongs to a group, an activist group called Drill for Oil on American Soil, and he was going to be here to present some information on the domestic drilling issue. Again, these are things that we could solve immediately, but it's Congress that refuses to remove prohibitions against drilling on American soil and building new refineries. And, this would cause devastating damage to our environment. The Saudis, they've got gazillions of refineries. There's refineries all over the world. Very modern, very efficient, and very environmentally friendly. We're not talking Exxon Valdez here. Although certainly people who own outfits like this have made out like bandits. In a free market economy, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and if they're providing a product, and the company is doing well for it, then it works like that. But the price is coming down. That could change. If you get hyperinflation, then then the $2.50 or $2. In fact, I just looked at gas right before I got here. I think it was like $2.35 or something like that. And it just keeps going down. But even if the price of gas dropped to $1.50, with hyperinflation, you could see that reversed just like that. And all the money in the world ain't going to help you, and hopefully you'll have a vehicle that runs on multiple fuels, the flex fuel vehicles or whatever, because you just may have to build a backyard still to distill some alcohol to act as fuel for your war wagon. So, let me find, there's another thing here I was going to share. Now, of course, it may seem a little bit alarmist to talk about the collapse of our economy, hyperinflation, stuff like this. Again, it's not without historical precedent. But I talked earlier about an organization called the Council on Foreign Relations. It's a very dangerous organization whose not so publicly stated goal, but it is their goal, is to bring down borders and to create regional governing arrangements. And by that, the best example existing right now is the European Union.